Hampir 3 dekade setelah rapper legendaris Tupac Shakur tewas ditembak di Las Vegas, persidangan terhadap Dwayne Keffe D Davis akhirnya dimulai. Jaksa menuduh Davis merancang aksi balas dendam yang berujung pada kematian Tupac pada 1996. Meski disebut tidak menarik pelatuk, Davis diduga menyediakan senjata dan mengatur kelompok yang terlibat dalam penembakan. Pihak pembela membantah tuduhan tersebut dan menyebut tidak ada bukti fisik yang mengaitkan kliennya dengan pembunuhan.
Then, a few hours later, Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight drive down Flamingo Road to Club 662, where Tupac is scheduled to perform a concert. Then 2.5 hours later, after Tupac and Suge engaged in the beating of Orlando Anderson, they are gunned down. Tupac is gunned down in a drive-by shooting from a white Cadillac in an act of revenge. Now, let's be clear. Dwayne Davis did not pull the trigger. But what he did do was plan the retaliation for the beating of his nephew. You will learn that Dwayne Davis got the gun. You will learn that he got into a white Cadillac. You will learn when the opportunity presented itself for retribution, Dwayne Davis made sure that the shooters were armed and ready to execute their revenge. He has at times been referred to as an icon. But for the purposes of this case, what you need to know is that Tupac Shakur was not a gangster. He was a hip-hop artist associated with the Multi-Room. Now, the other gang that's important to know here is the Southside Compton Crips. And when it comes to Southside, Dwayne Keffe D Davis was the leader of the Burris Street faction of the Southside Compton Crips. And while Suge Knight rose to prominence in his neighborhood due to the money that he was bringing in through the music industry, Dwayne Davis rose to prominence in his neighborhood because he was a very successful, large-scale drug trafficker. The other thing you'll learn is that Orlando Baby Wayne Anderson was his nephew and also a highly respected member of the Southside Conference. Dwayne Davis has repeatedly told us over and over again about the anger he felt and his own role in the revenge drive-by shooting of Tupac Shakur. And now, nearly 30 years later, we're going to ask you to finally hold Dwayne Davis accountable.
Having to add, what facts can we determine from Detective Becker's efforts? First and foremost, we know that Tupac was shot multiple times. That's a fact. That can be proven. We know that it was with a .40 caliber firearm. That's a fact, due to the cartridge casings. On the corner of Flamingo and Cobalt. That's also a fact. Right? We're on board so far? We know the date, September 7th, 1996. That is a fact. At 11:17 p.m., we know that to be a fact as well. And then finally, that he was in a vehicle driven by Suge Knight, and that Tupac died 6 days later. Those are facts that will not be refuted by anybody in this courtroom during the time that we spend together. But here's the one thing. There are no facts to point to Keffe. Not one. Now, because of the fact that in terms of the evidence itself, he doesn't have much, the state's going to lean pretty heavily on their witnesses. And I'm going to give you a sampling of the type of people you're going to run across in this trial based upon their witness list in this case. Really, at the end of the day, what you're going to hear from witnesses that will testify to this is that Keffe D was known to do this. That's the testimony you're going to hear in this case. That's what you're going to hear about that man right there. And so you have to ask yourself the question. If I just say things, is that going to end up being one of those things where I'm going to be hemmed up for a murder if I just keep repeating a fiction? I keep repeating that. The answer is no. You have to corroborate everything I say in order for it to be true. Otherwise, it's just that. Forfeit. And at the end of all the time we spend together, what you're going to find is that the state cannot prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt the claim that Keffe had anything to do with a first-degree murder with use of deadly weapon. There's no facts to that matter.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.